In the next few movies, I'm going to talk about conditional text. And conditional text is a way to get a different text showing up on your page based on certain conditions that you plug into InDesign. So it saves you having to have multiple pages for basically the same information when only a couple of pieces of data are changing. I'm going to start off with a very simple example, this one here, and then we're going to build it into something just a little bit more complicated as we move along. Now, if we go to the window menu, we can choose Type and Tables, and Conditional Text is the panel that we're going to pull out. I'm just going to dock it over here at the top so that we can access it easily here. Now, I've already built this one here, so I'm going to come over and notice that I've got three choices: England, Japan, USA. So look at this text when I change it. So the average price of a cappuccino in England is, and the average price in Japan is, turn this one off, and the average price in the USA is different price. Now, please don't email me telling me that you cannot buy a cappuccino at this price. It's just a sample, and I really don't know what the price is in England or Japan. So it's just for the purposes of this tutorial. So let's see how we build this using conditional text. I'm going to go over to the basic one, and you'll find this in the tutorial samples so that you can build it yourself. So I'm just going to zoom in on this, and I'll just hit W so that we go into preview mode here, and just move it down so that we can see our panel here and the text. Now, when you're working in conditional text, it is always best to use Story Editor rather than trying to type in the page, because what you're going to do is add an awful lot of data here that you're not going to see on the page. It's going to be all over the place and it's very hard. But if we're in Story Editor, we'll be able to read it. So I'll just select this and hit Control or Command Y here. So what I can do is I can create my conditions and then type it in, or type everything in and create my conditions. It really doesn't matter which way we do it. In this case, I'll just type everything in first. So we're going to have USA, England, and Japan. Like that. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I do not put spaces between these items where I'm going to apply the conditions. I'll come over here, and it really doesn't matter on the order. So if I have to put Japan in first, I'll put in 350 here, and for London I'm going to put 1.95. I've got to get the special characters here. So I'm going to come over here to my window and Type in Tables, choose glyphs. And here before the 195, I'm going to put the English pound sign. Come over here and put the yen sign in there. So good use of my glyphs there. So here I've got all the text that I need for this. Now I need to start to apply the conditions. So I'm going to bring my conditional text panel out here like this. And I've got three conditions: USA, England, and Japan. So I'll come down here and create a new condition. And I'll call it USA, like that. Now we can indicate what it is. We can indicate it with an underline or a highlight. I really don't like highlight, but I will show you what it's like. Wavy, solid, or dice line, or the color of it. So I'll just accept the defaults for this one and change it for the next. USA, we'll create a new one for England. Notice that the color automatically changes. I'll choose a solid line, and I'll choose a highlight. Clicking OK. The other condition I need now is Japan. And here we'll just keep underline, dice line, and we'll just change the color to brown. Clicking OK. So what I do now is select the text and tell it which condition to apply to. If you don't do that, the text is unconditional, which means it'll show no matter what. So this text here, the average price of a cappuccino in and is unconditional text, because it's not going to change no matter which condition I apply. So I'll select USA and I'll come over, click there. I'll select England. Whoops. There we go. Select England. See why I don't like the highlighting? And then we go to Japan and say Japan, like that. I'll set the price for dollars, and that obviously applies to the United States. We set the yen, that applies to Japan, and we go back and select the pounds, that applies to England. So we can close this out, and now we can come back and we can see we've got overset text here. Let me zoom out a little bit here, and if I come down and just expand this block like this, you can see it doesn't like it, and that's because the text is all together. If I go over like this to the right, because the text can't hyphenate it because it doesn't recognize it, you can see everything there. Let me undo that and see what happens when I turn these off. I'm going to turn off England and Japan, and there we have it. The average price of a cappuccino in USA is $2.95. Turn this one off. The average price of a cappuccino in Japan is 350 yen. And the average price of a cappuccino in England is $1.95. So that's the basis of conditional text. You can set the conditions, create them, and turn them on and off as is necessary. If I was to turn that one off, you only have the unconditional text. Now in the next movie, we'll start a much more complicated example so that you can see how it can work with just text and, in fact, graphics.